You've probably heard this. The average household will be £500 better off this year. Sounds great, right? But what does that actually mean? Is it a tax cut, a handout? Where is it coming from? And more importantly, who's actually getting it? Let's break it down, calmly, clearly, and without any spin. So here's where that number comes from. Every year, the government's finance watchdog, the Office for Budget Responsibility, puts out a forecast. It looks at how much money people will likely have left over after tax and after inflation. That number is called Real Household Disposable Income. In March 2025, they said it's going up by about 0.9%. And for the average household, that works out to about £500 more this year. That's it. That's where the £500 better off headline comes from. But let's stop there for a second, because average doesn't always mean fair. Here's the thing about averages. They can be pretty misleading. Let's say one family ends up £1,500 better off, and another is £500 worse off. The average is still £500, but clearly that's not what both families are feeling. So when politicians say, on average, they're not saying everyone's getting £500. They're saying that's the middle point when you spread the money across millions of households. Okay, so why is this happening? Mainly it's a tax cut, specifically a 2% cut to national insurance. That's a tax most working people pay on their earnings. So if you earn about £35,000 a year, you now get to keep around £450 more of it. Add in the fuel duty freeze, that's an extra £50 or so if you drive. So between the tax cut and the petrol savings, that's where the £500 figure comes from. But let's dig deeper, because not everyone actually sees that money. Here's the maths. That 2% tax cut only applies if you earn more than £12,570. Below that, you weren't paying national insurance anyway. So if you're on a low income, or part-time, or out of work, you might not get any of that £500 at all. In fact, here's what the data says. The richest 20% of households, they'll gain about £424 on average. The poorest 20%, just £34. So that £500 better off claim, it mostly applies to full-time workers on middle or high wages. Everyone else gets far less, or nothing. And what does this cost? Cutting national insurance like this means the government collects £10 billion less in tax revenue. That's £10 billion not going to schools, hospitals, councils, unless it's made up somewhere else. Some say, look, people should keep more of what they earn. It's their money. Others say, that's fine. But shouldn't the help go where it's needed most? So, are you £500 better off? If you're working full-time, earning a decent wage, you might be. But if your costs are up, or you're on benefits, or you don't earn enough to qualify for the tax cut, that £500 probably isn't showing up. This isn't a bonus, it's not a payment, it's a policy choice. And like most policies, some people gain, others get left behind. So, if you found this helpful, and you want more of this kind of breakdown, subscribe to the Subtext. We explain what politicians say, and what they really mean. Let me know in the comments. Do you feel £500 better off? Or is this just another clever headline?